Okay, so I've got my basic singular rounding on this shape. What I want to do now is I want to really just go over the important edges with a black fine liner, because these blue lines are going to be just really functioning, they're functioning as construction lines. So I'll just darken those. Try to use a nice thick fine liner, but not a really thick marker or something. This is a nice thickness. It's a 0.6 millimeter. So I'll just, these are the definitive edges, the ones I want. This edge is also important. So I'm at a funny angle because of the video, so I can't quite get the angles I want in my arm, but anyway, that's the basics. I'm going to define where the roundings start, at least on the front, so we can see that. And now I'm going to do some shading. Well, it could float above the ground, or it could be on the ground surface. Might be handy to draw a little drop shadow to show that. So I'll just well, we can use these vertical lines as our basis, and then I'll just estimate a quick cast shadow here. Let's just put it in really a fairly light shadow. I've just only got a light grey with me right now, so I'll have to do. So here's a quick cast shadow. It's not so dark, this one. Okay, and now I'm going to colour it in. I think I'm going to have to use the same grey, and I'm going to use a red, colour it in red. So the light's coming from the left side, and so I'm just going to shade this edge. A rounding on a little bit of a shiny, kind of a glossy type product is going to catch some light. So we're going to leave a white edge on that. This shadow is kind of handy, I can draw straight into it, doesn't matter. On this side I'll have to be a little careful with my red in a second. So I've got my shadow. Maybe even just put a tiny bit of shadow just along that edge. And then I'm going to take my red marker, ink marker, and I'm going to colour in. So I'll put a little edge there. I'm going to go past this shadow colour just a touch so I get a bit of a gradient. Get my edges in. And then really how you want, I mean, you can go, I can colour in along this edge like this. And I have to follow the line of my sketching. So don't sketch all over the place. It's not just, in any direction. You've got to follow, you've got to go up or down, or follow the perspective directions of your, in your product, like this way. Because you're going to get these streaks, and you want the stripiness to help to work with you. So in this case, I've got a long line this way, so it sort of makes sense to, once I've got that line, to sketch in this direction. So I'll sketch across this way. A bit of an edge there that might give some confusing information, so I'll just straighten that up a bit. Straighten that up. So you can be kind of sketchy, but watch out for your edges that they, where they need to be clean, they are. Okay, and if this whole thing is red, I might just put a little bit of a red edge here, just keep it clean up. You don't need to outline everything. So that's basically it. Maybe a little bit of red around this edge here as well. And then I might want to put some small details into this product, like a parting line, or maybe a power socket, or I don't know, little details. So let's see, I'll put a little in here. Think about the wall thickness. So I'm going to colour that in. It's going to be really dark in here. And I'm going to have a little, I don't know, just something to give it a bit more detail. We'll follow that edge up, and I'm going to have a little edge there. And maybe on the back also something. Just drawing those really just to to show you how you can use your black and white pencil. So remember, the light's coming from the top, and what I want to do is I'm going to just go across this edge here. Remember, there's going to be a tiny radius if this is a parting line or an edge, and that's going to catch light. The light's coming from this side. So here I'm not going to go straight down, I'm going to go over to the other side, because that's where the radius is now. And this side is catching light. So just think logically about what surface the light, which rounding the light's going to hit. It's not going to hit this edge, is it? It's going to hit this edge. Let's say there's a few little contact pins in here. That edge there, it's a tiny little thing, but I'm going to make it darker. Just so there's some shadow there. I could even use a grey and go just above that edge to show that the radius is going down that side, and there's an edge here which isn't catching light. And these little corners might catch a bit more light. So sometimes these details can really help give your product a bit more character and make it a bit more realistic. Okay, further, the next step would really be to put some chalk on top. So what I'm going to do is I'll just quickly stop the video, get some chalk, and then we'll continue it. Okay, so I found some chalk. Normally you wouldn't do this on the page, of course, but I'm just doing it here to show how this works. So I'm scraping off some powdery, some chalk. Then I'm taking a little cotton wool. This is actually a makeup removing thing that worked really well. And now I'm going to go lightly over the surface, really lightly, don't push too hard, as you can go over a few times. And I want the most opaque color to be at the front, so I'm trying to make a gradient, and I want the gradient to go from the darkest red I can get at the front to more transparent red at the back. You'll see that when light's coming from on top, quite a lot, and most of the time it is, that the top surface is actually quite a bit lighter than the rest. So yeah, using that. Okay, so you see that there's a gradient, and now what I can do is I'm going to use a bit of paper. I've got a post-it note, it doesn't really matter what. I'm going to put it on the edge, and I'm just going to use an eraser. I've got here a kneadable eraser, but another sort. I'm just going to rub off that edge. It comes off really easily, as you can see. So cleaning up around the edges. And once I've cleaned up around the edges, I'm going to put a little highlight here. We'll give it a bit more of a glossy feel. And I'm going to also just give it a highlight along this edge, which is like that little radius that we have on the edge, and maybe a few spots I could just pull off a little bit like that on the edge, and then also across this edge rub off a bit more space here. You can see with this bit of paper I can get a nice clean edge. That you can't do that, of course, if you don't have the paper next to it, and that'll just give it that extra kick. A bit more cleaning up, and anyway, that's the basics for this simple exercise.